Hey there, it's Danny here and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about how with Facebook ads and Instagram ads you can improve your cost per mille, your CPM, and lower your cost per click or CPC. Now, before I get into that, there's something I want to share with you which is kind of more general around what you need in order to have effective running ads. Because if you're looking to lower your CPM, it's probably because you think it's too high, you're not getting the results that you want, your ads aren't performing as well as you'd like, and it's a metric that you're kind of honing in on. And that's absolutely something that you want to do if your CPMs do appear to be quite high. But before I start getting into lots of little hacks and tips that you can use to kind of lower your cost per mille, I want to explain kind of the 5 key things that I think people need in order to have an effective running campaign with your digital advertising, specifically with Facebook and Instagram ads, which is where I kind of major. The first thing you're going to need is an offer that people need and people want. There is no point trying to run ads to something that there's no kind of need for in the marketplace. So you absolutely must have that in your locker. And it kind of might sound like sucking eggs, but it's really important. If your offer's not good enough, people aren't going to buy it. That's the kind of fundamental bottom line on point number 1. Point number 2 is that you're going to need an audience of people that are ready to buy this. So you have to have identified who the audience is, and when you're looking to run Facebook and Instagram ads, how you're going to get your ad in front of that audience. So you've got to do your research on the audience. The third thing that you're going to need is high quality creative. The creative is the visual part of your ad. And when you're running ads on the Facebook platform or the Instagram platform, people are scrolling through a feed. So your creative needs to stop the scroll and capture their attention. That's the purpose of your creative. So make sure that you're using something that is really, really high quality. The fourth thing you're going to need is high quality copy, right? Once you've captured their attention with your creative, then you're going to need compelling copy that is going to get them to take the course of action that you want them to take. Okay, so if you're running ads and the purpose of those ads, the objective of those ads is to grow your email list with leads, then you're probably promoting a lead magnet. So your ad creative has got to capture their attention, and then your copy has got to sell the benefits of that lead magnet and why they want it, and convince and persuade the reader of the ad to click the button to go to the next step in the funnel, which is normally to sign up and opt in for your lead magnet. And the fifth thing that you're going to need is what I call a message to market match. Now, that kind of pulls all of this together, but if you've got an offer that's really, really good, you've got to make sure it's in front of the right audience. You need the right, a good quality copy and creative, but message to market match is really important. Make sure that you're putting this offer in front of the right audience, make it compelling, and make sure that it resonates. So that's just a kind of quick couple of tips around what you really need from an ad campaign in order for it to succeed. If you've got all of those 5 aspects dialed in, then you're going to be off to a pretty good start. Okay, so let's just talk a bit about CPM and what it is. CPM is the cost per mille, and mille translates, it's a French word, it translates into 1,000. So it's the cost per 1,000 impressions that you will be paying to Facebook, or Meta as they are now called, in order for your ads to be shown. So every time you have 1,000 impressions, you're going to be charged the CPM to your ad account, okay? What is important to understand as well is what constitutes an impression. So as you're scrolling through, I always do this, you can't see, but I kind of do this with my hand while I'm always explaining about scrolling through. But while you're scrolling through on your mobile device and looking at Facebook, if a paid ad appears in your feed, that's an impression, okay? It's not to be confused with reach. So one individual or one device could have multiple impressions of the same ad. They might be scrolling through in the morning and the ad might appear. They might come off of Facebook or go about their business and come back on and scroll through Facebook or Instagram again later, and the ad might appear again. That's another impression. Reach is the number of unique individuals that you have reached with your ads. It's important not to confuse the two. Impressions is how many times your ad appears in the feed, regardless of the number of people that have seen it. So it's important to make that distinction. When we're thinking about CPMs, there are a couple of things to consider in terms of what makes up a CPM. It's quite complex, but I'm going to keep it relatively simple. I don't want to kind of do a deep dive analytical breakdown of how CPMs are calculated, but things that you will want to be aware of are firstly that competition in the marketplace is going to impact your CPM. So supply and demand is something that you need to think about. Facebook ads run on an auction model. You're bidding to get your ads shown to the audience that you want to get your message in front of. So if I take the example of the niche that I tend to work in, which is coaches and course creators, when I'm running my ads to that audience, I know that lots of other people are trying to advertise. So I'd expect my CPMs to be a little bit higher because there's a lot of competition out there for people that want to get their ads in front of coaches, course creators and consultants. Those, the 3 C's as I often refer to them. So supply and demand and competition in the marketplace is absolutely something that you're going to want to be thinking about when you're thinking about CPMs. It's a big contributing factor. The other contributing factor that I'm going to focus on for this training is the user experience, the customer experience. So Facebook place an awfully high amount of stock into how your ad will impact the user experience because they want users to stay on their platform. The longer users stay on the platform, the more ads they can be served and the more revenue that Facebook can make. Facebook, that's the very binary view of how Facebook make their money. They have other income sources as well, but predominantly it's through advertising. Now, if your results are good because you've got those 5 kind of key points that I mentioned previously dialed in, this isn't really going to be too much of a concern for you. But if your results are not good, then there are some things that you can do to improve your CPM. If your cost per result is high, you might look at your data and think the CPM here looks high. Now, people often ask me, what's a good CPM? And it really, really depends. So in the niches that I work in, I would like to see CPMs of around 10 to 20 pounds. So what's that, sort of $15 to $30 USD. But a higher CPM doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, because if you're going for a very, very targeted audience, so let's say you're going for an audience of people that run beauty salons in the UK, there are only going to be so many people that run beauty salons in the UK. It's quite a niche audience. It might be beauty salons that specialise in a certain type of massage or something like that. It's not my area of expertise. You might pay higher CPMs if you're going for a very, very targeted audience. Okay, so let's talk now about the user experience aspect, how you can look inside Ads Manager and understand how you're being measured around that user experience and some of the changes that you can make. So I'm going to just switch over to my computer screen. Okay, so here is a test ad account that I have set up. There's no data in here at all. I just use this for demo purposes. And what I've done is, in the reporting columns here, I'm just going to go to performance and clicks. And then I'm going to come down from the campaign level. I'm going to go into the ad level, because the metrics that you're going to be interested in here, let me just scroll along, are these ad relevance diagnostics. There are 3 of them: quality ranking, engagement rate ranking, and conversion rate ranking. Now, I could show you these in a live campaign, but at the moment I don't have any ads running and I'm not going to show you any of my clients' ads. So I'm going to do something slightly different and take you over to my iPad screen and show you what this could look like and some of the different options, and I'll talk you through those. Okay, so here you can see an example of how this might look inside an active account. So at the top here are the 3 metrics that are being measured. Okay, so down here, all of these are quality rankings. These are all engagement rate rankings. These are all conversion rate rankings. And then what you would see is that this would be for one ad, this would be for another ad, and so on and so on. Now, there are 5 levels that you can be measured at by Facebook according to each of these metrics. Okay, the highest is above average. Then you have average. Then you have below average, bottom 35% of ads. Then you have below average, bottom 20% of ads. And then you have below average, bottom 10% of ads. Now, it's really important to understand my next point. If you have ads that are performing really, really well, but they have low relevance scores on some of these metrics, do not worry about it. It doesn't matter. I do not put any time or effort into ads that are performing well that might have lower metrics. Further down the line, I may, once these ads have been running for a while, I may look at ways that I could improve. So if I'm looking at this example here for quality ranking and this one where it's below 10% of ads, what that's telling me is that compared with other ads that are running to that same audience, my ads are ranked in the bottom 10% in terms of the quality. And I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail. So I may think, oh, do you know what? I might want to improve. I might want to look at seeing if I can improve that. If you're getting the results that you want, so if I think about the list building example, so you're running ads towards a lead magnet to grow your email list, to build an audience. If I'm getting leads at kind of like, you know, £2, £3, £4 per lead, I'm not going to be overly concerned about this. But at some point, I may want to look at it and run some parallel ads for testing, where I might look at the quality of the ads. So I might look at things like the creative that I'm using. I might look at the copy and the language that I'm using. I just kind of drill down into some of that in a bit more detail to see if I can get this from bottom 10% up to bottom 20% and then up to below the bottom 35% and then average and then above average. But it's very, very rare that you're going to see everything that is all above average. Okay, quite a lot of our campaigns will have a very, very broad mix of these metrics across the 3 different areas that are being measured, and it's not something that I put too much stock into so long as the ads are performing. But what can you do to improve? So if you're looking to improve the quality ranking, then you're going to want to increase the quality of the creative and the quality of the copy, or one or the other. So the creative needs to be really strong, as I've mentioned earlier. Don't forget that this is potentially your first impression, if you'll pardon the pun, because we talked about impressions earlier, but this is your first impression with a potential new client, right? If you're running list building ads to a lead magnet, then you'll be running that normally to cold traffic, people that don't know about you or your brand, because you want to bring them into your world. It's the top of the funnel, right? So this could be a potentially new client, and you want to make a really good impression first time, because first impressions count. So make sure that your creative is of good quality, it stops the scroll and captures the attention. And look at other examples out there of people running ads to similar audiences and kind of get a feel for what, if you're stuck for inspiration, you can use the ad library, and I'll do another training on that another time. The second area where to improve the quality ranking is to increase the quality of the copy. So let me come back to you. So what you'll want to do there is to make sure that the copy is persuasive and clear so that the reader knows what action it is that they need to take once they've kind of engaged with the ad. One area to focus on is the first 3 lines of your ad, because that's the hook, okay? So you might start with something that says, learn how to get XYZ today. Here's how, okay? Or here's a simple tip to XYZ without doing ABC that you can implement today. And that's just a framework, right? You can input your own XYZ and ABC there. So an example might be, and I'm on the spot because I'm just thinking about this off the top of my head. If you're in the weight loss niche, it might say, here's a simple tip to lose 5 pounds in a week without giving up your favorite foods that you can implement today. Right? But you need a kind of hook at the top of your ad, those first 3 lines, that's going to grab people's attention. Because that once people have seen the image and stopped scrolling, that's the first place that they're going to look. Once you've captured their attention and you've got a good hook at the top, then they'll click on see more, and the rest of the copy will unfold, and they'll be able to read through that and then click to take the next course of action. The other thing I'd recommend is that you don't use sensationalized language. Okay, first thing in that is to make sure that you are compliant with Facebook's policies. So, a lot of people that I work with will have made lots of money online and they want to teach other people how they've done it. When they start running Facebook ads, they might say, hey, I want to use things like make 6 figures, or, introduce recurring revenue into your business, or things like that. Facebook picks up on those, and they have a couple of policies that will be flagged. So when our clients try and run ads like that, they often get rejected. Instead of saying things like make 6 figures, you could use language like scale your business. Okay, it's a bit softer. It's not as sensational. Make 6 figures. Everyone wants to make 6 figures, right? They do, but Facebook would prefer it if you said scale your business. I used the weight loss analogy just now, and if you're in that space, then talking about weight loss specifically in ad copy can also trigger high CPMs, because Facebook don't kind of like that language. So you might want to switch that out to something like hit your weight goals. So you can kind of see how you just need to be thinking about the kind of language that you're using and not be too sensational. Now, I'm just going to go back to the iPad and we'll look at the engagement rate ranking. What are Facebook looking at here? They're looking at how much engagement your ads are getting. So what constitutes engagement? Well, obviously it will be people reacting to your post. So if they're giving it a thumbs up or a heart or an angry face or a care, you know those reactions that you can do. That counts as engagement. Comments count as engagement. Clicks on or around the ad itself count as engagement. So what can work really well here if you want to drive up the engagement rate ranking is using video. Because people are engaging with video all of the time. They click play, they click pause, they might rewind. It gives people a lot more opportunity for engagement. And video, generally in advertising, can work very, very well because it's a great way, especially if you're doing to-camera video like I'm doing in this. Well, if I flip back to you like this, then that can work really, really well to get engagement. So using video can really, really help. Tightening up your ad copy. Making sure you've got the right call to action, because if people click on a link in your copy or if they click on the call to action button, that will count as engagement because it's a click. So make sure that your copy is really on point and honed so that people can clearly read it and clearly understand what it is that they need to do. And then I think another point that's really important is to make sure that you're targeting the right audience, because if you're not, then like I said at the beginning of the video, if your message to market match isn't there, then you're not going to be getting any engagement at all because people aren't going to be interested. So, look at other audiences, look at audiences that you want to test, look at different audiences, do some research. And also, if you want to reduce your CPM, maybe think about audiences that other people might not be so actively targeting. Do your homework and think a bit laterally, think a bit outside the box. For example, if you are targeting the coaching niche, then some of the big names that everybody targets are people like Amy Porterfield, Tony Robbins, those kinds of people. The CPMs to target those audiences are going to be higher because a lot of people use them. But you might think, okay, well, I know I want to target entrepreneurs. I know I want to target coaches. Maybe think about what types of publications they read. Maybe think about other people that they might follow that aren't perhaps quite as big as Tony Robbins if your goal is to drive down your CPMs. Then finally, what we're going to look at is the conversion rate ranking up here. Okay, so what can you do to get the conversion rate ranking up? There is something in Facebook ads world called the learning phase. And what the learning phase is designed to do is to make sure that within the first 7 days of running your ads, you get enough conversions so that the algorithm can learn about the kinds of people it needs to show your ads to in order to continue to get you the required number of conversions. So the goal is normally 50 conversion events in a 7-day period. That works out around about 7 or 8 conversions per day. Now, if you are running ads to promote your lead magnet, to grow your email list and grow your audience, then you'll want to be getting 7 to 8 opt-ins per day. Now, you might need to increase your ad spend to do this initially if your cost per conversion is high. But it's important to get out of the learning limited phase, because then you will continue. The algorithm is going to be best positioned to continue to get you the best possible results. That will help with your conversion rate ranking up here. The other thing to do is, let me come back to you again. The other thing to do is to make sure that you choose the right conversion event. That's absolutely crucial. So to use the analogy of building your email list, you will want to be going for choosing the conversions objective, and you will probably optimize for the lead event and have the lead on the thank you page. If you're using a funnel, the lead event will be on the thank you page and you'll be optimizing for that. Now, a lot of people, so if you have a sales funnel, then you'll be optimizing for purchases. If you're promoting a product and you want to send people to a sales page that they can fill out their information, add their credit card details, hit submit, they purchase at that point, and then they go to another page that says thank you. Your purchase has been successful. It's on its way to your inbox, or whatever it might be. If it's a digital product or if it's a physical product, it's going to be in the post in 48 hours. So you'll be optimizing for purchases at that point. So it's really important to make sure that to get your conversion rates right, you are optimizing for the right conversion event. Now, a lot of people will say, if you're not getting the right number of conversions, if you're optimizing for purchases, maybe come back a step in the funnel and optimize for add to carts. Now, that's a strategy that I don't often implement because I've never seen the results from it really. There are lots of people out there that will sit on the fence about making a purchase, and they will look at a product, let's say it's an information product, a digital course. They'll look at that product and they'll go to the sales page and go, yeah, okay, add to cart. So they kind of go through that process and then they get to the checkout page, but they get cold feet. That happens an awful lot. Facebook will be optimizing to show your ads to those kinds of people. People that make it as far as the add to cart, but don't make it quite as far as the purchase event. So the quality of traffic is lower and you might not see the conversions that you're expecting there. So I've seen it work well for lower ticket products in testing, but I don't see it working so well for higher ticket products. But choosing the right conversion objective is really, really important. Now, there are a couple of other tips, just to wrap up. There's a couple of other tips or tricks that I can recommend. So increasing your audience size can really help, because with a larger, broader audience, there's going to be less competition because you're not niching down so much. If you're going to do that, so there is a phrase in Facebook ads world called BANT, broad audience, no targeting. And that literally means that instead of choosing interests to target people with, you're just going to go with the basic demographics. Females aged 25 to 55 in the UK and USA. That would be an example of a BANT audience. Now, we are seeing quite a lot of success targeting those larger audiences lately, but you have to make sure you've got really strong copy and creative so that Facebook can hone in on the right people in that broad audience to show your ad to. So strong copy, strong creative is a thing running throughout this training. The other final kind of recommendation is to watch your frequency score. So if I just go back to here and just scroll across. So we have frequency here. Frequency is the average number of times that each person saw your ad. Okay? And it's something that you want to keep an eye on, because if your frequency score, let me come back to you. I'm still getting the hang of this eCam software. Here we go. If your frequency score is kind of like sort of 2, 3 or above, and your conversions are dropping off, then you might need a creative refresh, or you might need to start targeting different audiences, because what it means is that your ad's getting fatigued and a lot of people are seeing it, they're not taking much action, and you need to kind of freshen things up a little bit. So look, these are some of my favorite tips and suggestions on how you can reduce your CPM and your CPC as a result. If you've got any questions or feedback, drop them in the comments. And finally, if you want to grab a copy of my free Facebook ads starter checklist, which will kind of give you everything you need in terms of getting your ads up and running. If you're relatively new to the world of Facebook ads and you're not sure kind of where to start, or have you ticked all of the boxes to make sure your campaign is going to be successful, then there'll be a link for that in and around this video. I will see you again on the next one. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.